Hey folks, how you all doing? So, over the last 3 weeks, I guess since Christmas time, I've been resorting out Lynn and I's record collection, putting it all in alphabetical order, or trying to sort stuff out, sort out compact discs as well. As I'm doing it, I'm thinking, wow, this was a really cool album. That was a really cool album. I should play that again. So I come up with the idea from this video from that, and it's 20 albums from the 1980s that I just can't live without. Um, I mean, I play them on compact disc, but when you look at them on vinyl, it's totally different, thing. So I thought I'd do that, and I think they'll end up being a part two video as well, because as I'm looking through them, I ended up finding about 45, 50 albums on vinyl that could be in this video, and I had to narrow it down to 20 just for this video. So I guess there'll be a part two at some time or another. I'm not going to go too much into detail about these albums, but yeah, just 20 albums that I just can't live without, that were released in the 1980s, in no particular order, just randomly picking them up. Here, Jim Steinman, Bad for Good. All these songs were written by Jim Steinman, obviously produced by Jim Steinman. These were songs that were supposed to be for a Meatloaf follow-up album after Bat Out of Hell. But Meatloaf was sick at the time, or had lost his voice from too much touring, couldn't record them. Jim Steinman ended up recording them himself and putting them out. Such a great album. And then also on my list, we have Dead Ringer, Meatloaf. This is the follow-up to Bat Out of Hell. Just a great album. The title track has a duet with Cher on it, or Cher, whatever you want to call her. Dead Ringer for Love. Just a great album. This is a lot harder rocking than Bat Out of Hell, but it follows the same thing. Some rockin' tunes, 7 or 8 minute long tunes, then ballads, and things like that. But Meatloaf pretty much fell out with Jim Steinman after this album, because he believed that the best songs Jim Steinman kept for his own solo album, and he got what was left. I don't see that. I think they're both absolutely fabulous, stunning albums. Probably my favourite Moody Blues album of all time, Long Distance Voyager. Absolutely brilliant. Gemini Dream, The Voice. What was the other single of this? Can't remember. But just a great album. Moody Blues, Long Distance Voyager. Just recently did this one as part of a Madonna's albums ranking. So True Blue, absolutely brilliant. Almost the perfect pop album in my opinion. I know a lot of people think side 2 actually goes downhill towards the end. I don't see that. I think it's fabulous all the way through, apart from the closing track. Papa Don't Preach, Live to Tell, La Isla Bonita, the title track, all fabulous. Just almost the perfect pop album. This one really turned George Michael into a world superstar. His debut solo album, Faith, absolutely brilliant. Faith, Father Figure, I Want Your Sex, Kissing a Fool, Monkey, One More Try, all huge international hits. Turned him from a pop star into a serious, mature artist. Great album. One of my favourite albums of all time, Colour by Numbers by Culture Club. They really reached their pinnacle on this album. Helen Terry's backing vocals with her soaring gospel type vocals just absolutely lift these songs to an absolute another level. All the hits on here with Karma Chameleon, It's a Miracle, Church of the Poisoned Mind, Miss Me Blind, Victims, absolutely brilliant. And the other 4 songs that weren't singles are just as good as the rest. So just absolutely incredible studio album in my opinion. An album that people love to hate, but I actually love. I think it's slightly overproduced. But yeah, it's quite an eclectic album as a debut album. Welcome to the Pleasure Dome by Frankie Goes to Hollywood. I think when this was released, we all expected every song on it to sound like Two Tribes or Relax. But it didn't. There's covers of Do You Know the Way to San Jose, Springsteen's Born to Run. It's just such an eclectic collection of songs. And yeah, for me it works on every level. The title track is like 14 minutes long, I think. It was edited down to about 3.5 minutes for a single, but the complete title track is absolutely incredible. Great debut album. One of the best debut albums of all time, in my opinion. Next up, a band that's often overlooked, but I still love this album. Kings of the Wild Frontier, Adam and the Ants. Yeah, they just had a totally unique sound on this one. 2 drummers, tribal beats. Just absolutely brilliant album. Not a big fan of Fleetwood Mac, but I'm a huge fan of Belladonna by Stevie Nicks. This one contains Leather and Lace, which was a brilliant song, the title track, and of course Stop Dragging My Heart Around, which was a duet with Tom Petty. I've actually got 2 or 3 of Stevie Nicks solo albums. They're all very good, so maybe it's just the sound of Fleetwood Mac that I don't like, because I really don't like Fleetwood Mac, but this is just a superb album. Next up, Kevin Rowland and Dexys Midnight Runners, 2 Rye. This one has Jackie Wilson Said and Come On Eileen. The rest of this album is just as good, if not better, than those 2 hit singles. There's some Celtic ballads on here, Celtic folk. It's just a really solid album. Lots of banjos, violins, accordions. It's just a really good, earthy, rootsy sounding album. Come On Eileen's probably the track that probably doesn't fit on this album in a way, because it's more upbeat and up-tempo than every other track on here. But yeah, just a great album. Sting's Dream of the Blue Turtles comes up next. Absolutely brilliant. Big fan of Police, but I think Sting really outdid himself with this album. This was the perfect extension from what was their last album? Synchronicity. It's just a perfect extension from that. There's a lot of soul type stuff on this. Yeah, just a great album. If you love somebody, Set Them Free. Russians, one of my all-time favourite Sting / Police songs of all time. Love Is the Seventh Wave. Fortress Around Your Heart, and of course he redid Shadows in the Rain, which was a Police song that he really did in the jazz vein on this album. Great stuff. Next up, I have Walking Into Mirrors by Johnny Warman. Sorry, it's someone at the front door. I think Lynn will get that. Yeah, this was co-written. Some of this was co-written and co-produced with Peter Gabriel, who's a very good friend of Johnny Warman. So it has that Peter Gabriel vibe to it. It's a very dystopian, post-apocalyptic sounding album with that Peter Gabriel vibe. But yeah, really good album. Big hit off this. I can't even think now. Screaming Jets. But yeah, great album. Didn't sell very well anywhere in the world, but I really love it. Next up, probably my favourite Prince album from the 1980s, Diamonds and Pearls. This one contains the title track, obviously. That was a big hit. Cream was a huge hit, and Get Off. That's the vibe of the album. It's very soulful, it's very smooth. It's just everything you would expect from a really cool Prince album. It's actually double vinyl as well. I think it was double CD as well from memory. I could be wrong, but yeah, just a great album from Prince. Next up we have Vangelis, Chariots of Fire. Yeah, not really into instrumental music, but this is absolutely brilliant in my opinion. Great movie, and an even greater soundtrack. Next up we head to the debut album by the Style Council. Probably could have put Confessions of a Pop Group in here as well, but I went for this one instead. So the first side is basically an instrumental side apart from two acoustic jazzy songs. But yeah, instrumentals, jazzy, bluesy instrumentals. The second side has gospel, it has funk, it has pop. It's just absolutely brilliant. Just a total departure from what the Jam were. And yeah, just a great album from Paul Weller and Mick Talbot. Next up, Dire Straits, Love Over Gold. Brilliant, 5 tracks long. The 14 or 17 minute title track. Telegraph Road, sorry, not the title track. Absolutely brilliant. It tells a story on a level of, it's very Dylan-esque, that's all you can say about it. Absolutely classic album. It's a near perfect rock album in my opinion. Next up we'll go for this one, my favourite Jam album, Sound Effects. Everything's absolute cracker on here except for Start. Just not a fan of the song Start, but just absolutely brilliant. This was when he really reached his zenith as a singer-songwriter with the Jam. In fact, over his 46, 47 year career, he hasn't bettered this very much. Probably 3 or 4 albums are probably better than that one in my opinion, but masterpiece for a guy who was 23, 22 when he wrote that album, recorded it. So next up, John Cougar Mellencamp, Scarecrow, Americana type album, all about the plight of the blue collar workers. This one contains Rain on the Scarecrow, Small Town, Lonely Old Night, what else, ROCK in the USA. Absolutely brilliant. This was John Cougar at his finest in my opinion. Just a great album. The lyrics are on the back there. Brilliant stuff from John Cougar. Probably the finest hard rock album of all time. AC/DC's Black in Black. We all know this album. We know the history behind it, etc. So yeah, You Shook Me All Night Long, Rock and Roll Ain't Noise Pollution, Let Me Put My Love Into You, and Hell's Bells. Absolutely sheer brilliance. One of the biggest selling albums of all time, one of the greatest albums of all time. And finally, my list of 20 in this video, yeah, Scary Monsters, David Bowie. That's his new wave post-punk album, and he'd give it a totally brand new original twist with the stuff he was doing on here. I've never heard an album that sounds like this album. Nothing sounds like it. Ashes to Ashes, the big hit. We all know Ashes to Ashes. That sums up the whole vibe of the album. Sheer class, sheer brilliance from David Bowie in my opinion. It's pretty much downhill in the 1980s after this album in my opinion. But yeah, great album, David Bowie. So there you go folks, that's 20 albums from the 1980s that I can't live without. There's definitely going to be a part 2 to this video at some point in the near future. So yeah, leave your comments in the comments section below. What do you think of these albums? Are you a fan, etc? Till next time guys, stay safe, take care. All for now, catch you around, and bye folks.